when you're doing the market research, you have figured out, okay, these are the problems that people are facing, and this is the problem solution that I want to provide. So now you know the demography, the area, or probably a general idea of what kind of people have that problem. So when you will do the marketing, you know whom to reach out to now. And your marketing research could be like just a couple of conversations with some people. It could be a form. It is very easy to build all of that these days.
Hi, folks. Welcome back to the new episode of Make It Happen Online podcast. My name is Hanuj. I am CEO and co founder at Miho. At Miho, we help knowledge entrepreneurs like you to create, grow, and manage your online business. This initiative is part to just help you understand the basic of getting started with this business, or how can you grow, how can you generate leads, how can you build curriculums, and a lot more difficulties that you face around this particular business operations is what we try to solve using this podcast. Today we have Shivani. She has worked with Google. She's currently working in the OP Jindal. She's also worked with Sunstone. And primarily her role has been into education space, where she has worked on the research-based roles and also has built curriculums for this larger company. So we'll be talking more about curriculum building, but I'll leave it up to Shivani to introduce herself better. I may not do the justice to her work. So Shivani, over to you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Hanuj. Thank you for having me on this podcast. It's quite relevant. The knowledge entrepreneurs, it's quite the buzzword these days. To quickly introduce myself, so I'm working as an educational consultant where I help different organizations to either develop an educational program, manage it or execute it, depending upon the requirement of the company or the organization. So, yep. And what I've been doing currently, I can tell you there's some interesting work that has come up. For example, I'm designing one curriculum for a social sector organization where they want to teach kids the entire NIOS curriculum via pottery. So I'm aligning that to how the kids can learn that. The other one is around financial literacy, making it very simple and relatable to younger generation, and making it somehow making it possible to align it to the curriculum that they have. That's second. What else? There's something what you mentioned I was doing with Sunstone was they wanted to do a pilot with their students where they wanted to teach functional English to their students, which is usable in day-to-day office, etc. That's next. Also, I'm designing educational experiences based on traveling for school students. So yeah, I'm happy to go into details of whatever you ask me to. Yeah.
Even before going into, let's backtrack a bit. Can you tell us a bit about your background, your studies? Where did you study, and how did you end up becoming part of education as a space altogether?
Sure. So let's go back a little back in the time when I was probably school. So I come from a very small town called Jhansi, and that's in UP. I did my schooling from there. Then I did my grad and post-grad from DU, Hindu College. I studied philosophy. So the question here is what I wanted to do. I wanted to become an IAS officer. That was all I wanted to do. So I was a very serious UPSC aspirant. So my post-grad and my preparation coincided, but I did not clear the exams clearly. So after my 2 attempts, I was kind of very sure this is not what I want to do. Now, that's a question a lot of people ask me, because my age was still, I still had a lot of attempts. My age was appropriate. I could have gone ahead, preparing for more time. But I was very clear on that part, why not to go ahead with it. But the question was, then what next? Because I had no other plans. I just wanted to do that. So I think that's when my mom suggested me that you should start just doing something, because I'm a workaholic, and then I might, not be in my good senses. So I just started with an internship. Then one thing I knew after UPSC preparation was that I wanted to be in education sector or health or social sector. But education was one place where I knew my brain works. I could relate to the students. I could relate to the teaching community. I myself had been a very good student, you can say. So, I had a lot of, you can say, relation already was there. I used to love going to my school back and again, giving them ideas of what more could have been done. So I landed up with one internship through some friend's friend. It was an internship to write articles for some amount of money, and that's when it hits you more that you wanted to be an officer. Now you're writing articles for some amount of money. So are you settling down? Is it that you want to do, why don't you go back to preparing all of that? But yes, things kept on happening. I started working with Rishihood properly. That time was a startup university, and that's when I realized, yes, this is the place I want to be in, because I got the opportunity to design a program which is called Gap Year. That is a very new that was a very new concept in India, and we wanted to kind of formalize it. So there was a lot of work required there. It was very exciting. But as you can imagine, Sonipat is a small place. Evenings I did not have much to do, and hangover of UPSC was still not over. So I used to still sob over the fact. Really good colleagues there. They suggested me that why not take some other projects for yourself in terms of research, because they understood. They told me that you have fine hand at writing, so why don't you try that? So that's how I got connected with CNES, the research center at OP Jindal. And then one after another, I got, a couple of research projects. Things went well. After Rishihood, I went to UNESCO. I was again interning there, converted into a consultant. After UNESCO, Google happened. Google, I was again looking at projects from school. They had a program for school students. That's where probably we also first connected. And yes, after Google, I got married, and I'm now based out of Kolkata. I'm doing some of the projects that I mentioned earlier. Yeah.
Nice.
That's been the story so far.
It's a whole different tangent being an UPSC aspirant to becoming part of Rishihood University. I would also question a bit on Rishihood University, because that university, when it got started as a project, it made a lot of noise, and there were a lot of positive feedbacks on that. But then how did you end up getting a job over there? Because I that's very uncommon, right? You generally apply for companies or organizations that are already in the market out there. How did you convince yourself to apply for something that is not very well known, or it's still in the building phase? I find it a bit weird to do that at my own pace.
So very frankly, I was a graduate and postgraduate in philosophy.
Okay.
What jobs are there for us in the market? So I mean, we should always know where we're coming from.
Yeah.
I knew I had the strength of, I learn quickly, I'll do whatever is required. I knew I could manage things in and around. I'd done some part of it in the college. But frankly, on the CV, if you see by philosophy's education qualification, I'm not sure if that's the eligibility criteria anywhere else. So that question was definitely not there. Known jagah par hi jana hai, that was the aspiration for sure, and that's why it took me about 1.5 years to still come on the fact that okay, apart from UPSC, still there is an option to flourish, because you put that thing on the pedestal and you want to do that best, and you think only that's the best thing to do in the world. So that was one side of the story. Second, the job description for Gap Year Program Manager was quite interesting. It was something new. It was something which I knew I could take up and learn a lot. That time, my entire idea was to learn, and that's still the case. So honestly, when I stepped out of the house, my idea was they are paying me to teach me, and let's just see how it goes. So and I'm glad I chose that, because I got some really good people to work with.
Interesting. So how did you land up in Google? Like it's a dream for a lot of people who are listening to this podcast. people who even are not knowledge entrepreneurs, they keep on aspiring to be part of Google. How did you end up being part of Google, coming from such a diverse background and still?
Google happened. So that is a very strange story. Something similar opportunity came to me an year before. UNESCO and Google's opportunity came simultaneously, you can say. How it came was, I would say, via LinkedIn. Somebody had, not somebody, my manager, my to-be manager, had posted, a requirement, and I mentioned that I was interested. And that's when they reached out to me because they found the portfolio, which was, my profile relevant. But I couldn't take that up that time because UNESCO happened, and UNESCO, I was still interviewing for Google, so I had to drop out from that. And gratefully, I'm really thankful for everything that happened, for all the probably blessings. Something good I must have done. 1 year, exactly almost 1 year after that, they might have had the similar requirement, and they reached out to me saying if I was interested then to apply for that, and then the entire process of interviews, etc., happened. Yeah.
Nice, nice. Coming to the topic of the day, so when did you build your first curriculum? Like, what was the role where you ended up building the first curriculum? How was that process?
First opportunity was definitely at Rishihood. It was not a regular curriculum that we are used to looking at, because it was a lot of experience based, travel based, mentorship. A lot of elements were introduced, and that's when we really enjoyed doing that as a team. There was a lot of creativity involved, and I think where I would say would now say I could do justice to the project I had was the interdisciplinary outlook towards things, because it was supposed to be a program which is supposed to give students a lot of options and varieties of career, giving them a lot of experiences which will help them decide or help them become a better uh, decision maker, better individual in that 11 months, 1 year time. So that was the first time I did it, and that where the major research background work happened.
Interesting, interesting. You mentioned that you built your first curriculum at Rishihood University, and that was part of experiences which are bound to be in the classroom and outside the classroom as well. It was more like a mixed approach to that. Is there a process that you have defined over the time that a normal person who's creating a course for them for to monetize their skills at a lower level could be following or probably can take an inspiration from?
I can definitely share the like a framework or an overview that I use. I don't know if that would be applicable for anybody else or in all situations, but I'm happy to share that. And of course, we can mold. I also keep learning with every opportunity that comes in. So yes, I can share that definitely. So one is definitely one should know what you're looking at. Roughly, I'm not saying you would be very sure, because what you're thinking in the first in your first brainstorming session would be very different uh, to what will actually come out eventually when you design something. Having said that, there is some basic clarity that you would need to have. One is like, what is that you want to teach, for example, or what is the learning outcome or a gap that you want to fill. So either of the two you need to have a clarity on, right? Second is something like, what's the age group of the audience or the time duration you're looking at, what are the resources or the medium that you want to look at, because the idea of medium has also changed a lot. If say somebody is doing it online, so even in online, do you want to do it recorded? Do you want to do it live online? Do you want to do activity based, interaction based, just a lecture? There's a whole an array of options that you have. Then you also have an option of offline, hybrid. So there needs to be some clarity. Eventually, when you build the curriculum or design the program, you will have a better understanding of which would suit the best. So this is like basic pointers that you need to start to have. Second is, Google का जमाना है, सब कुछ already हो चुका है कहीं ना कहीं, right? So for the second thing I definitely look at is benchmarking. it's not, I mean, I never support the idea that you do something somebody else is doing. What's the point, right? But at least having an understanding of what's there in the market already, how somebody who must have, cracked it, how they have done, just to draw an inspiration or understand what's their way of doing it or what different you want to do. I can give an example here. The program that I was doing for one of the organization was on English. Now, you just type, I want to learn English, and there would be thousands of programs online. Then why do we want to do it separately? Right? That was my question also to them, that सब कुछ तो है, हमें क्यों अलग से करना है, right? But that's where the question got answered, because you had a niche audience who had certain gaps in learning with respect to that language, and we want to, just cater to that. Having said that, that's when I researched and found out almost all the programs that you get in India for English, if you listen to them, they're all dialect. The way of speaking is foreign based. It's not Indianized accent of speaking, except one or two. And apart from, of course, the influencers, but I'm talking about the courses. So you don't want that. And that's where we decided that what is the, gap we would want to fill. This is something new we would like to. So benchmarking is one. Then when you look at these programs, you will understand very well what's the difference that you want to bring in. So that's become automatic, like the second step that you look at. Once you look at it, you will also develop a better understanding. The first step, where you were looking at your audience, medium, you will get a better understanding of seeing, okay, this might work, this might not work. So that's, all of this will keep on improving with each, like more you read about it, the better you will get. But it has to be directional. Now, the next comes once you have decided that, okay, this is the difference you want to make. Now, there are few things that you need to, pen down. That is, finalize a rough idea of duration, medium, type of content, resource persons who might probably come to you. For example, if you are a knowledge entrepreneur and you yourself are doing it, so that's fine. But many of the courses get people from, across these sectors. So now you also need to see who would those people be and what kind of delivery they would be able to do, right? So that also something you need to understand. Now the final thing is, which is where now actual, you can say, the curriculum building will come in. You need to list down all the topics that you might probably have. Then see, here is where most of the people get stuck. Just write down. There is no need to have a continuity or maybe a chronology. Just write down whatever you want. Now here there would be two things. One is your content is fixed. For example, if somebody wants to teach history, so history, you would know, I want to teach, say, post-independence history. So era is fixed, years are fixed. So you know this is the type of content that would go out. Mota, you will find out, okay, these are the major things. The other side of it would be when you are trying to figure out, fill a learning gap, or there's some larger content. Then you need to see what's the end point you want to reach. So nobody needs to go into details of this as of now, just the pointers. Now put those major points into time slots that I would cover, say, first one in 2 weeks, 1 week, depending on the content that you have, how long content you want to build. That's second. Now pick up one segment, like maybe the first unit, second unit. I'm calling it a unit, like a subdivision of the major points that you've taken, and start building that. Now you need to, go into details of how would you like to deliver it, what are you going to speak, what is the reference material, if you want to share some activities. Now start chalking that out. Here I would like to just give like one tip or trick. When you will think of one unit, you will get ideas for multiple things. Okay, maybe later I can do this with students, maybe I can do register, people have registered for this. Start noting it down as and when you get that idea, because in duration of this journey, you might just forget what you had in the beginning as an idea. So just keep noting down everything. Otherwise, it will be बन तो जाएगा ही, काम तो हो ही जाएगा, but it would, you might miss out on few things that you wanted to introduce. And now once you've done one unit, I do that personally, share it with somebody who can give you good inputs. This could be someone who is not from the field, just to get an idea, how does it look like? Because you are creating this on your own, you need to have a feedback. Have a very candid feedback, understand what's the time की problem हो, कुछ content का problem हो, maybe some expert is telling you, you should introduce this also. And once one is done, it's like a pilot. Execute it for all your units. And I would say if it's a recorded thing, or even if you're doing it offline, practice one as a, deliver one of the units as a pilot, so that you have a very good on ground feedback कि ये चलेगा और ये नहीं चलेगा. And speaking of the delivery, I would strongly recommend to have your things in place and not go by the idea बोल लेंगे हो जाएगा, because that's never the case. And I'm talking about if you want to deliver really well. If you just want to create a course and just you have those options also. You have so many courses like that these days. But I'm talking about when you really want to add value. You need to be prepared with every minute to minute of your engagement, because so if somebody is investing their money and time, and there were already 100 options, so they've chosen you. So you just be conscious of that. Yeah.
Makes sense. So I'll just do a quick rapid fire to get some inputs from you on this, right?
Okay.
The first question would be, how can a person go about finding the right topic of the course, like as basic as that? So if say for example I'm good at digital marketing, how do I go about the preliminary research of finding the right topic to teach in the market?
Because it's rapid fire, I'll rapidly answer this in 2 points. One is whatever is your strength. For you, if you are you're already calling yourself an expert, so that means there is something which you have cracked. So try delivering that. Put the points down. Make like a short session, 30-minute video, 30-minute session. एक workshop कर लो. Course नहीं बनाना है तो maybe online offline workshop हो गई, एक recorded session हो गया, maybe a podcast, something like that. The second option could be, अगर आपको तभी भी समझ नहीं आ रहा कि what to start with, just look around for the things that are already in the market. You might figure out one thing which is missing, or one thing you can better do than the others. So pick that.
Okay. So like now that we have a topic, say for example, if I have a topic defined, how important it is for the topic to convey the learning outcomes itself? Like there could be a topic like introduction to digital marketing that does not convey anything, but there could be a topic, say, grow your network of LinkedIn from 1 follower to 10,000 followers through this course, that conveys a learning outcome clearly. How important is that for?
So it's very important from marketing point of view.
Okay.
You might be delivering the same content in these two different names of courses or sessions, but you would see more takers, say, in the for the second one. So marketing point of view, it's very important. But I would say, as long as you're adding value, there is no way that people will get you unseen. Time ज़्यादा लग सकता है, but value. And there are opposite cases, right, who claim all of this. They don't deliver anything, but they're getting very successful.
True.
So what do you want to choose? You want to be lambi race ka ghoda? You just want to be part of what is happening these days. So that's a choice that you want to make. But yes, answering your question, it's important. And how you communicate. Communication is a very important part of what you've built as a curriculum, and then what you're delivering, and then outreach. So it's a common thread.
Third question would be, sometimes it becomes overwhelming for folks who are getting started with this kind of a exercise, right? So as you mentioned, you talked straight 10 minutes on understanding how to build the curriculum, what are the points to do. So that's 10 minutes into, like, say, at least 10 minutes of top 10 minutes of your instructions could convert to at least 1 month of a work. How can a person stick to what kind of planning would you ask a person to follow to not get overwhelmed and being able to still achieve what they want to achieve?
This is like one of the most common concerns that anyone has. Just to, how to fight this problem, I think one would be, I mean, I'm at the risk of repeating myself, just pick one thing which you are passionate or you're very good at. उसका एक सेशन बना दो आप बस. उसका एक one pager भी हो सकता है. It could be half page into one paragraph. Start with it, and whatever medium of communication you have decided on, maybe it's a recorded session, just do that. You will automatically get confidence. But there's also a case that you don't. So, I mean, either आप अपना कोई external accountability mechanism create कर दो, there's a team member or there's a family member जिसको आप बोलोगे कि मेरे को एक हफ्ते में I want to definitely do this now, just be behind me to get this done. That could be one. Second is whatever you find very difficult to, I mean, okay, I'll just take 1 minute to address this thing which I also face. There's a lot of times you think, am I an expert enough to do this, or am I good enough to take this up? Who am I to teach this to a lot of people? There are already 100 people who are doing that. That might be a question which I also face many times. Then maybe connect to the relevant people who can give you the expert suggestions, integrate that, and then share that as a knowledge piece. And you can give them the credit. That's of course your choice. So don't get stuck at one place. That's the keep going.
So probably starting with a proper plan, at least some initial plan, and making sure that you are able to achieve those milestones one way or the other, good or bad, doesn't matter, but at least achieving those milestones to at least get
Yes.
somewhere to get started with it, right? Makes sense.
Because you look at the journey of any knowledge entrepreneur, their first course, first offering was never the most successful one. They have seen failures, like people not turning up for the sessions. What worse could it be? You launched a workshop, there's nobody, but you keep on going. That's life, I guess. Yeah.
Nice. So how important is it to do the market research first? We already talked a lot about it, but one thing, because that may not hit right if the market research is not done right. What would that downfall be if the market research is not done enough? Because I don't see a lot of
Market research.
research importance being discussed across the globe, or probably at least in Indian context when we talk about it. Market research is something that is typically ignored by a larger set of companies as well, with the single person companies as well. What are the downfall of not doing a market research when starting something of the sort?
I mean, I can't emphasize more on market research. That's the first thing that anybody should take up. First I'll answer what's wrong with not doing it is you will get demotivated if your chal jata hai aapka service, aapka product, obviously it's like good thing only. But agar nahi chalta hai, you were anyways not sure of doing it. Agar nahi chala, and then you're gone. I mean, I'm not sure how many people would still be motivated to then do it. Also, if you're doing a market research, it becomes very easy to do the marketing later. I'll tell you how. When you're doing the market research, you have figured out, okay, these are the problems that people are facing, and this is the problem solution that I want to provide. So now you know the demography, the area, or probably a general idea of what kind of people have that problem. So when you will do the marketing, you know whom to reach out to now. And your marketing research could be like just a couple of conversations with some people. It could be a form. It is very easy to build all of that these days. Understand these are the major features. And honestly, once you start doing it, you automatically start seeing signs and problems and solutions to it. So for example, there are a lot of people who are doing financial literacy course. But for example, I'm getting a request for something for younger kids. Now, how do it? You can't explain the idea of mutual funds, different instruments to them, which is of course very readily available. But now, how do you answer them? So now, when you develop the course or your product or your service, now you know, okay, these are the people I want to reach out to, certain section of the audience that you want to cater. So it is also easier the pure work from later on, So I would definitely, I mean, there's no way you're developing anything without market research.
Makes sense. To sum up, I'll ask just one last question and then you can sum it up if in case you have any finished final thoughts. One last question would be how has AI helped you or not helped you, or what are the things to avoid while using AI to build the curriculum part of it?
Right. So a lot of people told me that up to chat GPT aa gaya hai, who will ask you to do anything. AI is here. It's going to you can say hamper or assist in the jobs that we are doing. However, we need to know how to use them for our benefit. Because AI is here, but the way, I mean, a lot of people have been asking this in education sector, specifically for chat GPT, especially. What's more that you can add? For example, I'll give you just one example to explain this. When you are catering to your audience, you may have 10 registered participants, 100 or 200. Only you know them. एक general statistic, एक general idea, I'm sure AI भी आपको provide कर देगा if you feed in data. But the expectation, the behavior, the exchange of conversations that you have, the interaction that you have, that is where you play, and that's where your humans need to be very good at. And I mean, just to answer your question, how AI is going to, what somebody needs to be wary of is, don't get bogged down by it. I'm seeing a lot of people, but it's going to be there. It's part of life, and you can't just be bogged down by the fact that AI is developing. We need to play, like we had the conversation earlier, we need to play on our strengths and get better with it, and which I believe is human interaction, empathy, understanding human needs, all of that, which AI will not do for us.
Makes sense. I think I'm done with my question. If you want to add any final thoughts, that would be great.
One important part of entire course curriculum building is looking at the execution. This is where a lot of people falter. So execution, I think it's a vicious cycle. It comes from a very good content, which leads to a good delivery. But good delivery also comes from a lot of your personal traits, connecting with the audience, understanding their mindset, confidence, your way of delivery, verbal and non-verbal communication. So there has to be a very strong link between content and delivery. You can see school education is a very big example of this, where teacher training is a must, which we are lacking like anything on as a country. So that's the question of delivery. Content hai, books अच्छी हैं, सब कुछ है, but the question is on delivery. But you can also see examples of people who are doing excellent courses with a very good delivery but very poor content. So keep both things in mind, and anybody who is developing the curriculum needs to have a very, very conscious look at how the delivery is going to be, and make the curriculum in such a way, or content, that whoever is delivering is able to read that content, deliver it well. So that's a coincidence of two things that needs to have to be in place. So yeah, that's the last thing I'd like.
Makes sense. I think it sounds good. I thanks a lot for joining us today, Shivani, and this really helps. I think this will be a good of help to all the knowledge entrepreneurs out there. If in case you have any specific questions for Shivani, please feel free to drop it in the comments, and I'll also attach her LinkedIn URL in the description itself. You can get in touch with her if in case there is something that you would want to collaborate on, share, ask questions about. That should be not a problem. I hope so, right, Shivani?
Absolutely, I would love to learn more, and I'm sure if somebody reaches out, I'll have more to explore and learn from that. Yeah.
Thank you. Thanks a lot for joining us today. Thank you, Shivani.
Thank you so much. Thank you.